Yeah, what's going on, guys? Let's try back again here to bring in another video. This one's going to be talking about a rumored matchup. So don't get it twisted. This match is not officially announced yet, but it is rumored to be in the works. This one's going to be a video prediction for Fedor the Last Emporer Emelianenko and Bobby Lashley. So this would be a very, very exciting matchup. I'm sure that in comparison to anything else out there that's not Zuffa owned, this would probably be the biggest match in the world not under Zuffa banner or ownership. So that's kind of something interesting to take into account. When you think about the fact that Zuffa is now owns the UFC and Strikeforce, there really aren't many fight organizations out there that can really put together big cards with big fighters. I saw a poster the other day for a fight card being headlined by Kendall Grove. He was in the UFC for a little bit, and he was on The Ultimate Fighter, if you guys remember. So, when a guy like that is headlining a card for one of these other organizations, you have to question how much talent is outside of Zuffa at this point. There's really no go-to company now for all the fighters to go to. That's not under Zuffa banner. I mean, where would they go? They could go to like Shark Fights, Titan Fighting Championship. There's a few others, Bodog Fights, and maybe Dream. M1 Global had one event, and they may have more. I guess we'll see. But really, there aren't too many fighters outside of Zuffa ownership, except for really Fedor, and another one being Bobby Lashley. I mean, there are a few guys here and around. Bobby Lashley is currently 7-1. He did lose to Chad Griggs, but he's lost all his other matchups. He's beaten Bob Sapp. Let's look at some of the other guys. Carl Knott, John Ott, Wes Sims, Mike Cook, Jason Guida, and Joshua Franklin. So I've been watching MMA pretty much since its inception. I've only heard of Bob Sapp, of course, and Wes Sims, because he used to be in the UFC. The other guys, I'm not familiar with at this point. So, he hasn't really faced anybody too notable. I mean, Bob Sapp was never really that good. He was just a huge kind of like a freak show that people like to watch in Japan. And he was fun. It was interesting to watch. I remember when Big Nog armbarred him. That was one of the most classic, come from behind victories in the history of the sport. But other than that, I mean, all these other guys, whatever. They're not that great. But there aren't that many guys outside of the UFC to face, really. There just aren't. There's just not that many. The problem with Bobby Lashley has always been his cardio. It's his one weakness. He's got great wrestling. He's got decent stand-up, and he's got savage ground and pound. He's sort of like Brock Lesnar, actually, in a lot of ways. I know people are gonna, go crazy over this comparison. And, but I have to make it. I just have to. I feel compelled to do it. It's just that, we never got to see Fedor against Brock Lesnar. And this is as close as we're ever going to get. We get to see a guy. Look at the similarities here. He's a good wrestler. His best attributes are wrestling. He's huge. Muscle-wise, he was in fake wrestling before. He I guess Brock's cardio is pretty good. I'm not sure who you would say has the better cardio between Lesnar and Lashley, but Bobby Lashley actually has he's got 8 fights, so it's very, very similar between him and Brock. When you want to look at him that way. So like I said, we never got to see Fedor and Brock fight, so Bobby Lashley against Fedor would be the next best thing. Now, I'm positive this would be probably the biggest moneymaker, one of the biggest moneymakers Fedor will have at this point. I mean, guys like Ishii and Munson, they'll do decent, but Lashley has a big following because of his background in the WWE, and TNA, and just fake wrestling in general. He has that good following, so this could be the makings for a huge selling fight, and something that I would actually love to see. I would love to see this, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, Bobby Lashley's not Brock Lesnar. He's not as big, he's not as fast, yada yada yada. He's not as athletic, whatever. But me personally, I would really, really like to see this matchup happen. I think it would be very exciting to see, and I think, it will kind of give us an insight into really what would have Fedor been like if he would have fought Brock Lesnar back then. Now that they're both not on top anymore, Brock's retired. Fedor, people have been talking about retirement for him forever, and he's lost a few. They're not on top anymore. Who would have won? I really think that this fight's going to show us that. If Fedor beats Lashley, that to me is good enough to say that Fedor probably would have beaten Lesnar in, a couple years ago when he was closer to his prime. I just, that's the way I see it. Now, again, people are going to disagree with me. I know that they're going to say that that's, inaccurate. It doesn't, that Bobby Lashley's not Brock Lesnar and this kind of stuff. But for me, that's good enough to say. If Fedor smokes Lashley, then a couple years ago, Fedor in his prime probably would have beaten Brock. That's my opinion on it. So moving on from that, let's do a prediction for this fight. Let's talk about it. Not for sure it's going to happen, but there's a good chance. So let's get into it. How do these two match up, and how do I see this fight going down? Well, obviously the experience advantage is going to go to Fedor. You want to look at Fedor's attributes. He's got some of the best striking in MMA. As a heavyweight, he's got amazing hands. He doesn't use his feet too much. He's got awesome throws. He's got awesome sambo. He's got a good ground game. He's been notorious for, having good hips on the ground and, arm barring Mark Coleman, other wrestlers that are able to take him down. So even if Lashley takes him down, he could potentially get arm barred. That's possible. What other weapons has he got? He doesn't quit ever. This is something that I always fail to mention when I talk about Fedor. There's no quit in Fedor. Fedor does not quit. He does not give up. When he fights, he goes full tilt throughout the whole fight. He doesn't stop. Even against Bigfoot, when his eye was closed, he couldn't see out of one eye. He was a mess. He answered the bell for the next round, and they called it off. Okay, it was a doctor stoppage, but he was ready to fight. He was not going to give up. No matter what, Fedor does not quit. He does not give up. No question about it. So that's that. Fedor, tough as nails, one of the best of all time, if not the best. Great sambo practitioner, great boxing. Bobby Lashley, on the other hand, is a little bit bigger, and he pretty much relies on his wrestling quite a bit. He does have very good wrestling, though. He's been able to take every single one of his wins, pretty much. He's been able to take guys down and pound them out, make them quit, make them tap, submit them. He's very dangerous in that way, and he's a great fighter. He's very underrated, I think, as a fighter overall. He is a very good fighter, and he's dangerous against anybody. Because of his wrestling being so good, because he's so strong and powerful, he can take guys down, and he can neutralize them, and he can pound them out very well. So he is a good matchup for Fedor. I approve this matchup. Last time when Fedor fought Ishii, I was saying that, that fight shouldn't happen. Well, I think that this fight in particular definitely should happen, and I think that that it needs to happen. This would be a great fight for Fedor at this point. In comparison to a lot of the other guys that are out there right now fighting in mixed martial arts, not under Zuffa ownership. So how do I see it going down, and who do I see winning this matchup? I got to go with Fedor. No question about it. I got to pick Fedor in this match. I mean, I think that Bobby Lashley's wrestling is really good, but Fedor's sambo has always been great. His takedown defense has always been amazing. His boxing, of course, he's going to have the advantage in that. Toughness, I give him the advantage. Cardio, I give him the advantage. This should definitely be a win for Fedor, but it's one of those opponents that is dangerous too. If Bobby Lashley is able to use his wrestling, just like Bigfoot did, take Fedor down and smash Fedor, he can win this fight too. It's just that personally, I have to pick Fedor in this matchup. Let me know what you guys think about this fight. Do you think this fight should go down? How big do you think it'll be? I think it'll be the biggest selling fight in the world outside of Zuffa, to tell you the truth. Really be nice to see another organization get a boost from this and be able to, start to compete again. See, I think it's going to be like a pendulum effect with UFC. There's going to be other companies coming up, and then Zuffa's going to buy them out, just like Pride and Strikeforce. Boom, they're going to go down. There's going to be nothing. But eventually, over the years, 3 to 5 years, the pendulum will come back, and you're going to see another company, start to pick up some steam. Now, hopefully that, pretty much, is consistent, unless Zuffa is able to completely stomp everybody and create a monopoly, which is, they pretty much already have a monopoly, but a monopoly to the point where there is literally nowhere else for these guys to fight. If they don't want to fight with Zuffa, then they cannot compete in mixed martial arts regardless. There's just no money in it outside of Zuffa. That's a possibility. That could happen. If we see companies like Dream, Shark Fights, Bodog, not that they have a lot of money. I think Dream is probably, has the most out of, all of them in terms of what they're going to be paying their fighters. If those go down, okay, then, Zuffa, well, they pretty much already have monopoly, but it'll be the point where no mixed martial artists will be able to make an honest living doing this full time anymore, unless they're coaching, unless they have a gym, that kind of stuff. That's the only way to do it. Either that, or you got to be with Zuffa, one of the two. So it'd be nice to see another one of these small organizations like Dream get a boost from a fight like this. This would be really, really nice, and I'm sure this would be humongous. A win for Fedor here in this type of matchup would, really help bring Fedor back to that kind of status he's at before. Or the opposite could happen. If Lashley is to win, even though I don't think he will, we could see something very exciting happen, and maybe him possibly go to the UFC or something like that, which would be very interesting as well. Thanks for checking out my video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. Write comments below. Do a video response if you feel like it. Should this fight happen, and how excited would you be to see it happen? Do you care? I mean, some people at this point, when it comes to Fedor, they just don't care. Me, I always love to see him fight. I love to see guys do their own thing outside of Zuffa. Even though I know most people want Fedor in the UFC, I actually don't want him in the UFC. I want to see him continue to do this and maybe help another company build and get some competition. Helps keep companies honest. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one later. Peace.